Hi, let's talk about music. So, we've come to the final chapter. This would be my official jump-off point from Vocaloid. Now, I'm not really sure what really got me off of Vocaloid. I just know I kind of just stopped listening to it one day. Possibly because there were too many voice banks to keep up with. I think different things were happening in my life at the time. I really don't remember why I stopped listening to Vocaloid, sorry. So today we're going to be talking about the history of V4. This is the last season of Vocaloid, or last generation of Vocaloid, that I really kept up with in any capacity. I would revisit certain aspects, or like I'd go back to old songs or whatever, or I did at one point check out one Vocaloid that I was just like, ooh, there's a new Vocaloid, because I did still remember Vocaloid, and of course there are songs that I remember and I still listen to this day, but it wasn't my thing anymore. So let's get into V4. Let's talk about the history and the ups and downs and all the different voice banks in this series. Also to note, this is a very saturated generation as well. I think V4 and V3 are probably the biggest ones. You can tell that by the end of V4, Vocaloid was on a kind of slight of a decline, and that's mainly because their next generation, which would be V5, which, from what I heard, it's not the best generation. Now, this generation would evolve a lot of different aspects about Vocaloids. It's already established what it was, what it's doing. Oh, should I give my intro? Oh, God. If you don't know what Vocaloid is a instrument. It is a vocal synthesizer program that you are able to purchase voice banks and release covers or songs using their voice banks they have available. And each voice bank is noted to a different character, and for a long time it was my hyperfixation that I loved each certain character and they were all so cool and blah blah blah. So yeah, if you don't know what voice bank Vocaloid is, that's Vocaloid. Back into this. This would be an evolution of Vocaloid as we know it, and this version of Vocaloid would incorporate a lot of different new features which were actually pretty cool at the time, and I thought were pretty interesting. Quite literally, the first song that I heard from a V4 voice bank, I feel like I levitated. And that would be the song by Pt.1 V4 called Fairy Tale. And this was on a YouTube channel called Kayami, so if you want to go look it up. She's one of my favorite Vocaloid / other Lloyd creator. I'm going to talk about the other set of Lloyds in a different video, but mainly we're going to be talking about just Vocaloid right now. But she created this, she didn't create the song, but she did a cover with using Pt.1 V4 to sing the song Fairy Tale, and that song was good as hell. Now, you may be asked, what was it that made this Vocaloid generation different than others? This would incorporate the system called EVAC. Sorry, let me check my notes. Yeah, EVAC is Enhanced Voice Expression Control. So this would allow certain voice banks to add a certain inflection to their voice. So they could do like growling, or they could do like a whisper, or like have like a darker tone. So this would be very different from V3 or V2 or V1 entirely. V1 was bottom of the barrel. They barely had enough tones to say onomatopoeia, you know? But yeah, this would incorporate a very unique touch on, I don't know why I zipped up my fucking jacket midway through. But it would incorporate a very unique inflection on certain voice banks. Not every single voice bank could use this EVAC system to its best abilities, but it was at least cool for the ones who could use it uniquely, you know? Also, we'd have another function called cross-synthesis, where you could blend voice banks with each other. So depending on what Vocaloid you were using, you could have it start with a soft voice bank and then it would shift into a hard voice bank, and it'd be kind of seamless. So this absolutely, I think Vocaloid 4 was very very much for the producers, because when they wanted to switch into a different voice bank. So I'm not too sure how it would work for like switching into English voice banks, but I know at least it would work decently for the ones that were of the same or similar to the other voice banks. So you can shift to it from a hard to a soft voice bank. You can shift from a native or whatever type of name they want to call it, because none of them really have like a meaning to them. They just have like, this is native voice bank, this is joke voice bank. You know, it wasn't just, there was random names for them. Now let's get into the Vocaloids themselves. First, like I mentioned, we're going to be doing VY1 V4. And VY1 V4's name is Mizuki. I now have it down, her name is Mizuki, but she is one of the higher quality voice banks in this generation. She is able to use the evac system pretty smoothly. And the song I heard, which was called Fairy Tale, was like, it was so amazing. I don't know what it was, but she could use a growl function, and the growl function was so just like, it just added like a little bit of salt to the mix. Like, it just spiced it up a little bit. Also, I believe she would be released with the software. I'm not too sure. I think she is actually like the base model for a lot of the different software. So VY1 V2, VY1 V3, VY1 V4 would be released with the software. I'm not too sure on that. Don't confirm it, but I don't know. I just know she would usually be like the base voice bank for the software. Alright, so the next voice bank would be a English voice bank. I believe VY1 and V4 was released at the same time as this one, but I'm not too sure on it. But the next voice bank would be a voice bank called Cyber Diva. Now, when Cyber Diva came out, I didn't know really how to interpret her. She's a decent voice bank for the English side of Vocaloid, but she has a more robotic tone, so I think they really wanted to touch back. Some people do like the robotic tone of Vocaloids. Some people like the side where they can almost sound realistic, or they sound like a real singer, you know. So I think, in my opinion, she has a more mechanical sound, but she's decent for an English Vocaloid. Now, our next Vocaloid would be a Vocaloid named Yukari, which we've touched back on V3, and this would be her V4 update. And in this generation, she received 2 new voice banks, and I think a re-recording on her first voice bank, which sounded more similar to her first one, but they brought the artist that provided her voice. Her name is, I think, Chihiro Ishiguro, and they would re-record her voice, and it would be more. Her voice is pretty decent. I think it's more like, how do I explain this? I think, in my opinion, she's more like a deeper register compared to most female voice banks, but it just varies on what you're listening to. The 3 voice banks would be called, I have to look out this side for this one, Jun, On, and Lin. And June would be her original voice bank, just kind of enhanced. Alright, so that's the first part of our Vocaloid V4 journey. If you want to stick around for the next amount of history, let's go on to the next part, and I'll see you there. Also, side note, I was hoping to get to Luca in this video. She might be tacked on the next one. So, what can you do? I ran out of time. But I'll see you later.